Hello and welcome to today's episode of The Insider, brought to you, as you jolly well know, by Vanishing Inc. Now, today, I'm going to say this, we've got one of Magic's most polarising figures joining us, Lloyd Barnes, known for his incredible visual effects, his time at Illusionist, and yes, let's be honest, his ability to stir up trouble online. Lloyd's never one to shy away from speaking his mind. Let's get going. Lloyd, what's your Magic origin story? You have got 19 seconds.
Grandpa showed me Magic, then got out of Magic, saw Wayne Dobson. Somebody showed me Magic in the line when I was waiting to beat him when I was 7. That blew my mind. Then age 16, had to spend a summer indoors and couldn't afford Magic, so made my own ideas up, and that was the rest of it. Done.
Now, if my research is correct, your grandpa was quite an interesting figure, because if I found this right, he was doing 3-card Monty and shell scams and stuff on the street. No?
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry, not the. Yes. So I thought you meant he told me that stuff.
No.
Yeah,
He was doing that.
London, bridges. Yeah. Your research is really good.
Thank you. Now, how did those early lessons in deception from an actual con artist shape your approach to magic?
Well, in a nutshell, so what it was, right, he used to work on London Bridge, and there's the Met Police in Scotland Yard.
Yep.
And so the old stories of where the police would walk down one side, they'd just swap sides of the bridge. So he used to sell photographs on the bridge, and then he would, from a briefcase of all of London, and there was guys doing the 3-card Monty and the shell games, and they would all swap and they would teach each other things, and he started having to go back and forth. Then he ran away from London, and he joined with a traveling fairground. And there was a magician. I've never been able to track him down, but his name was Maximilian. And he was a magician. I've been trying for years to find him, and he taught my grandfather magic tricks, right? So he did that, and my grandfather was a bit of an inventor type of person. Like he ran away. He didn't have any parents. He was on the road from the age of like really really young, and so quite a crafty, hands-on bloke. And when I was younger, I had eczema on my skin, so I used to have my hand bandaged up because it was atopic eczema. It was really extreme, and they said I couldn't do anything with my hands for a living. Whoops. So he decided to teach me the little tricks that he'd learned to get my dexterity up, because they were constantly bandaged.
Just like the breathe magic thing that the magic circle
exactly,
does. Yeah,
right? So he did that, and then he used to show me tricks that weren't just card tricks. Like he made a thing with a Post-it note, and he drew an old school camera on there, and it was a smiley face on the end of the square of the camera. Kind of didn't make sense. And then you'd flick the Post-it note, and the smiley face would change. And it was just something he'd made, and it was just the way he'd cut it into 3 sides of the square. And so he used to show me little interesting tricks like that, not necessarily 21 card tricks.
Uh-huh.
So that approach early on, I think, was a bit different to most just seeing standardized stuff. And then, but then that was really it. And I think the creative side of me, if I can call it that, was just from being skint, having no money. One single parent, lived in a flat. She worked 2 jobs, barmaiding and cleaning. I remember I had one deck of half blue bicycle cards because I seen Blaine using it on TV when I was young, and I had that deck for 4 years because I couldn't get decks of cards. So all the tricks that I wanted to do to be like David Blaine, I had to figure out. Right. So it was just putting that VHS in, watching Paul Zenon's TV specials and World's Greatest Magic that would come on late night and things, and just Drop the Dead. Was it Drop the Dead Rabbit, or remember that TV show?
Stuff the White Rabbit.
Stuff the White Rabbit. Literally, my mum and my grandmother would record those for me, and I'd watch them on repeat, and then just try and figure out how that stuff was done, because I had no access to it. And I think when you work those muscles, it kind of gets you thinking. And then it's really hard to, once you work things out for yourself and find new ways of doing them a lot. If you read a description of a trick in a magic book, you end up thinking, oh, I could do it this way instead of the way it's taught. If you start there, and that's all you can do for the first 5 years of being into magic, you just can't really go back to just being told how to do something and letting that be the way, So it's kind of that.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. You have, and I'm quoting you, described yourself as the dark horse of underground magic.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean to you? And do you embrace being seen as an outsider?
okay, that was when I was like, I think 15, 16. I just made that for a website of mine. And it was because I was going through my wannabe Daniel Madison phase and the dark horse of underground. It's because I didn't, I had this whole like mentality of, I come from Wales, which is in the, can we swear on here?
Well, I edit
It's
them.
in the
I
armpit
edit
of
the swear.
nowhere. We're like, I'm out in the sticks. I had nobody else interested in magic, and I would look online and I would see these people who like lived by the magic circle or had friends with like video cameras, and they were getting all their stuff put out there online. And this sounds really arrogant, and it is egotistical for me to say it, and I don't fully mean it, but I would see some people being like promoted and put out there and stuff with ideas, and I would think, I just think they're in the right place, and I kind of felt like, oh, so, and again, just I think when that age 16, you're full of gusto.
Yeah,
You think you can
everything.
take on the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know the error of my ways now. Trust me. I know I'm the dumbest man in the room. But at the time I felt like, hey, I was like, I could do that. I could do this. If I was just in London.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was a bit underground, and I felt like, yeah, I had all these ideas. And I remember like I came up with a trick. And I remember there was a moment where I realized, oh, maybe creating was for me. I came up with a trick, and I was trying to get it released. Nobody was interested. Nobody would give me the time of day. I was filming it on potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody else created it and released it. It was Illusionist's biggest trick seller of the year. It was factory sealed by Nick Werner, and I'd been doing it for years before, and nobody wanted to release it. And then it came out, and they made this thing like, oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And I was like, oh, do you know what? This is a good thing, really. Even though they didn't release it in mine, it gives me confidence that
You can do it.
working in the same,
Mm-hmm.
close to the same area as these people that I really look up to. So that's kind of where that mentality was. Although reading it back, it makes my toes curl.
Seemingly, your university career ended with you being chucked out in your last year. How did that redirect your path towards magic? And do you now kind of see it as a bit of a blessing in disguise?
Yeah, like 100%. So I'd studied multimedia, which was a bit of like video editing, photography, bit of like 3D, like literally 3D modeling, design. And I wasn't interested in it. And I did the first 2 years of the course was in my local town, in like a college, and the last year was in university. So where everyone else had been partying for 3 years, I went off on the last year of everyone's studies when they've like grown up. And I was like, oh my God, I've got money and a place to live. So, and I bought an unlimited pass to the cinema as well. And so I was like, I'm not going to uni. So yeah, I had a party. Things went a bit south, got a bit crazy, got kicked out. And I'd read that book, which at the time I was like, this is so profound. It's changed my life. It was the Alchemist, right? Which I know I'm older now, but at the time I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, I'm going to take my student loan and go to India. So I just went to India, and I had some like headroom, and I realized, you know what, like, if I'd rather be skint and do what I'm happy doing instead of like being forced to do like multimedia and stuff that I don't enjoy and anything. So I came back from India and was like, I'm just gonna do magic, pay the bills, somehow keep a roof over my head, and I am zen with that. And that's kind of been the ethos ever since.
So it did do you a favour. Now, we can't, for reasons, talk about the interesting things that people might want to know about your time at Illusionist, but I have got a couple of questions about it
Okay.
that are not controversial. Now, when you were there, you were running the creation and talent acquisition. What was it like being the gatekeeper for a publisher of that size?
Tricky when it came to friends wanting to release stuff. Someone would send a trick in and it wouldn't be up to the standards of what they wanted or the style of what they wanted. Sometimes you could have a really good trick and it doesn't suit the company, you know? I think every company kind of got their own style of releases and things.
Absolutely.
But sometimes someone would send you something and you'd have to be really diplomatic in the way of letting them down. And often that could like sour the friendship.
Yeah.
And the other bad thing was that if I was working on an idea or I was about to release something or somebody else internally was going to do that, and then that idea gets sent into the inbox, You're like, oh, and then it's literally happened. One case happened with an old trick where before I started there, someone had sent a trick in, and I think it was I don't know who was in charge of the mailbox, but it was when Jason Brumbelow, that
Mm-hmm.
era. So I don't know who was in charge of acquisition back then, but they'd sent a trick in, never heard from them. I joined the company like 5 years after and released the trick. And then I got contacted a couple of years after the trick. So like probably a span of like 10 years since, from start to finish. And there was like oh, okay then. So like, is this what you do now at Illusionist? You take tricks that were submitted to you guys and you release them as your own and don't give credit to the originals. And so I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I wasn't here. But it was like, so you can run into situations, and I don't want to say traps, but you can sort of run into situations like that, which is just really interesting to navigate because they're not your normally with a crediting issue. It's like, hey, I created this, didn't know you created it. But then you're getting accused of theft, or like there's some sort of conspiracy going on where, so yeah, it's just a bit of a minefield. And the other problem is that like, it was really hard to create authentically because you'd see and be inspired by things. So very often, whatever came in, even if I was like dabbling in the same field as that, like for example, Tournament Sword cards, I would have to like be like, okay, I'm not working on Tournament Sword cards for the next whatever, because I don't want to even be influenced. I don't want to have any weight of that bearing into my work and fall those traps. And I think when you work on anything, to have to like shut that part of your brain off is really like, it's like, it kind of makes your brain frazzle a bit, when you're like in the zone and you're editing or you're writing copy or something, and then your wife comes in and she's like, you've got to go to the shop because this is happening. You're like, oh, but I'm in my flow, like I'm in the zone, and it's almost like being kicked in the head.
Yeah,
like that was kind of like that. Oftentimes, it like creatively, it felt like very stifling. But,
of course,
there was also the good sides of it too.
Well, I imagine part of the good sides were laughing at the bad submissions, because I understand there are quite a few of those, and I wouldn't say that we get them at Vanishing Ink, but we sometimes might. Can you remember the worst submission that you ever received? And is it true that somebody tried to submit the double lift as a new trick?
Yeah. We've had people try to submit the double lift. I had somebody submit a trick. I can't remember what it was in full, but it wasn't a trick. It was like someone selected a card, they put it back in, you asked them for the card, and then you'd cut it to the top and say, is that your card? And I was like, dude, I don't really think that's a magic trick. Like, you're just asking them what their card, and it was like a really weird, like, I don't think this is am I missing something here? Are you marking it, or is it like a dual real? And the guy was like, no, very much you just asked them. And I was like, okay. I'll tell you the best submission I ever had. I can't remember the guy's name. I think he was from India, and it was amazing. It was the best trick ever. He did a card trick and he had a parrot, and the parrot would find the card, legitimately find the card. And I was like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. How are we going to supply the parrots? But I was like, I loved it. I thought it was great. I always remember that one. But he legitimately wanted to release it as a trick.
Yeah, packaging a parrot could be tricky. You went from Illusionist to Murphy's, looking after their product development. How was the culture different from Murphy's to Illusionist?
Oh my God. Very healthy at Murphy's. So it's like, I don't want to. I mean, we're British, right? And we talk about food. But Murphy's, they're very conscious of mental health and well-being, and just sort of, it's very much a business. It's a company. So there's like a HR department. There are, there's a ladder of like, okay, if you report to your boss reports to them. It's very official, very, very official behind the scenes. And they do everything the right way, or they try to do everything by the book and by the right way, and that is, I mean, that's my first real, like, I worked at E, but that was just, kind of like the blind leading the blind in a sense, where everything was, in Brad Christian's defense, he started that company up on his own from grassroots and learnt as he went along, where it feels like the difference between Murphy's, even though like Mark Murphy did the same sort of thing, he kind of like, because it's so expansive, you kind of have to have like a HR department and a proper admin department and a proper like way of doing things. And so the difference is in the culture is that it's, I don't know what's the word, like holistic and healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it used to be super cool at E back when McKinnon and Madison and everyone were there and we all used to hang out. And then, yeah, over time, it just kind of just fizzled out kind of to like where they are now. And yeah, but
fair.
Murphy's is cool, man. It's just, it makes me feel like an adult working there compared to what I'm used to.
Now, when you create your own magic, and that was really interesting hearing about your grandpa showing you the little gimmicks that he was making and things, you said that you don't change a move just for the sake of changing it. Can you explain about that philosophy and why you think many magicians get that wrong?
Yeah, I've always had, and I like not a rebellious nature, but a questioning nature. Like I found it from a really, really, really young age. I've never been able to fathom the idea of working and like a normal job, because in my head it was like I'm trading my time,
Mm-hmm.
and time is like the biggest thing in my head constantly. Like it just like kind of consumed me, and I mean from like the age of like 6, 7 years old, I always had this whole mindset of I'm never gonna do like a normal job because I just can't. Like just for me, I know some people thrive off that lifestyle. Like my wife, like needs a scheduled stability because you know it's comforting. For me, I just couldn't fathom like replacing my time for money in a sense, in terms of like, okay, 8 hours a day is being taken off you, you're being given that. Like it's driving me mad. So I used to question everything about school, like why am I being here? Why am I doing this? Why constantly like asking myself and the world around me, why this way, why that way? And then when it came to magic, it was always the same. It was like I'd read it, because I'd started off by having to develop my own way of doing it, and then I'd end up having like I couldn't classic palm a coin, never could classic palm a coin. So every time I'd see a routine when I could afford books and videos, and it would say now classic palm the coin, I would just finger palm it, right, just as a basic thing, slight change, and then I'd see people. I'm so sorry, I got hay fever.
No, me too.
I would
It's horrible.
see magicians, and they would. I remember going to Cardiff, the Cardiff Day of Magic, at a really young age, like 15, 16 years old. It was an open day. I'd never joined a magic club. Still haven't. Well, kind of magic circle thing, but and they were like, oh, but you're not doing it the way it should be. And I was like, yeah, because I can't do it that way. Like I literally, my skin is so dry, I can't classic palm. And it was like they were looking down their nose at me for doing it my own way, but I was adapting because I couldn't.
Yeah,
And it was always like that. That's always been a thing in my head. And it was literally probably started off mainly with the classic palm being altered to finger palm. And so ever since then, I've always just not necessarily gone out of my way to question it, but I've always been like, okay, what's better for me? And I'll just do it that way instead of. And then I know there's like some practitioners, a lot of practitioners out there that they just do things by the book, and they master that hard slide that I'm not going to take the time to learn. And I respect the hell out of it. It's just I just never followed that way of thinking.
Well, maybe part of that.
Do you know what I mean?
Part of that going your own route, following your own path, has been one of the things that's helped you come up with. Sorry, my daughter just messaged me and I had to look. She was at sports camp. But stuff her. She's fine. It's not an emergency. She's just telling me how good her little sister is at dodgeball. Maybe that following your own path is what made you create the best-selling effects that you have done. But I'd like to talk about your process for that. With something like Lux or Dex, what's the process for taking an idea from concept to commercial release?
Well, it always starts off. So there's a difference now between working at Murphy's versus working in other places. Is where now it used to be that it was to make profit for the company, whereas. So I don't get like any commission at Murphy's. I just get the same salary every single month. So that stays the same whether I release my own tricks or I release other people's, because I'm still doing talent acquisition at Murphy's. So for me, when I release like my own material, like Dex and Lux, or like the apps and stuff, that literally is just me doing extra work for free. Because when it's your own stuff, you've got to do. Then you've got to, you have to do all the stuff that the artist would be doing on top of the rest of it. So so I don't get any extra incentive from it. The only thing it does is just really steal my time and stress levels, because I whether releases are amazing or they sour, because it's a minefield. I'm always worried, because you're putting your babies out there. It's like kill your darlings. So the difference now, the process is that it starts off with, what do I want to do? What trick do I want to do? As opposed to like, what do they want? So like Lux,
hang on a minute. That's interesting. What do I want to do rather than what do I think will sell?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the big difference. So all the tricks that come out that have got my name on it now are the tricks that I do every day.
Right.
Like, and still do every day. Like before, there would be tricks that I liked. I couldn't work on something I hated, but it'd be very much like, oh, I think there's a space in the market for, I don't know, coin and bottle or whatever it's going to be. Okay, well, Lloyd, make a coin and bottle that everyone's going to love. And maybe I just wasn't feeling that trick, and I would be hyped on it. I'd be excited by it if I came up with something new and it worked, and I would perform it, and I would do it for a few months. But then it would be like, oh, it's not the same as when you come onto your own idea, and it's like, and that. So the process now is that, first of all, it doesn't even start as a product anymore. It starts off, what do I want? Like, I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I'm sat in the coffee shop, I was hanging out with the boys, and I could do this trick, and I work on it. And then I've got my own little group of people I'll show it to. 99% of those ideas are just ones for me. And every now and then they'll be like, shit, man, can you send me one? Can I get one? And then I'll show it. I'll go to a convention, and it'll be like, oh, dude, can I pick that up off you? Or can I get that? And that, I let the process of showing it dictate what's going to come out. That's why when I was at E, there was like, I don't know, maybe 50 Lloyd Barnes products and downloads in total. And at Murphy's, I think in the coming up to 6 years that I've worked there is 6.
Right. Interesting.
And I was at E the same amount of time I've been at Murphy's now. So literally like 90% difference. And literally the only stuff that I put my name on now is just the stuff that I want to do.
Oh,
and people have asked to put out.
That must be beautifully refreshing.
It's creatively freeing.
Yeah. And with that creative freedom gives you time to argue with people on the internet. See that segue? That was good segue, right? That was good segue. You have had some very public feuds online.
Yeah.
And do you think attacking or getting involved in those public feuds was the right approach to dealing with the situation?
Yes. Yeah, I think so, because I'm always of the opinion to shine a light constantly. So, look, to a fault, especially in my personal life, I've always thought that the best thing in any situation, no matter detrimental or what, is tell the truth. Like, and I'm like, if my son grows up and he murdered someone, my heart tells me I should help him bury the body, but I know in my soul that I would just say, look, Thomas, come clean. Like, we'll go together and we'll come clean and face it. And I've found that, like, throughout my entire life, I mean, I think my life's in a good position. And I think a large part of that is because I've always just spoken the truth out loud. And I think as soon as you do that, it clears the air. Sometimes if you harbor feelings, or you feel like you're vindicated in what your beliefs are, but you're being like, you're not saying it for whatever reason, that can eat away at your soul a little bit. And I don't know what it is. Like, I just think it sounds like really like childlike, but honesty is the best policy. And whenever you tell the truth, then you just say it out loud. It comes out of you. It's like a weight lifted off your shoulder. And oftentimes the worry that you had wasn't as bad. And then often it gets resolved the healthy way. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's better than. And I've always, whatever the spats there have been online, I've always thought long and hard about it. It wasn't like, oh, he said this about me, I'm going to go make a video now straight away. Anyone will tell you that's like in my contact list. It's normally like, I always wait 24 hours, like Abraham Lincoln when he used to write letters. Always 24-hour period, wait. and then normally another 24 hours on top of that. And between that, I'll be talking to people that question me. So I have friends or associates, like I won't say who, but there have been people on YouTube and off YouTube that have like called me into question in the past. So when there have been like other things happening, I've actually reached out to them like, yo, I know you'll tell me straight because you've kind of done it publicly. Will you give me your opinion on what I think is the right stance here, or my stance, and tell me if I'm just being a dick or if I'm valid? And that's the approach I've taken pretty much consistently. And I don't know, everyone's the hero in their own story. Everyone's the victor of their own arguments. So I'm sure,
Yeah.
but I feel like it stood me well. And I don't have any shame in anything I've done. I feel like I can hold my head held high. And if anything, there's been resolutions to pretty much all of it that have been healthy.
That's true. That's true. That's true. People have accused you, though, of sometimes doing that on purpose, to stir the pot on purpose, to get views, to get clicks, to do that clickbaity, rage-baity stuff. But it seems, talking to you about it, and we've never talked about that before, but I believe you. You seem very legitimate in that quest for truth. So do you have you ever set out as like, oh, if I go and post that there, then he's going to get thing, and then we'll get loads of views on the Magic Cafe and sell some more products and blah, blah, blah? Or are you just fighting for the truth?
I don't think that the controversies sell the product any better. In fact, I can put data for you that shows that can be detrimental. If there was any regrets, I would wish there was no controversies, because even though I don't get commission, those products would sell more without it. We actually just found this recently with a recent thing that happened. We kind of do like a review every so often of what happened at the time and things.
Mm-hmm.
And those controversies do the opposite of that. And if I wanted to get views, there are ways of doing that, like Justin Flom. If I was interested in views, I would just go the Justin Flom route, which he's got. I think that's for a different day. That just isn't me. It's really like, if you look at like I put up videos in the past, even like when I was at E, about the whole FU deck situation. Put a video up of that. Those videos take like 2 or 3 days to make, start to finish. And then the stress, my wife will tell you, the stress is disgusting. Like, I feel sick. I can't speak to anyone. I just hide myself away as it's all happening. I really don't enjoy it. And the views that are minimal in comparison, the only reason they go out is just because I've always, to a fault, just if I feel like something unjust has happened, or if I feel like I'm being silenced, I've just always just said it out loud and let the fallout occur, and then at least I got a clear conscience. But it's never, dude. I got a YouTube channel. I know how to get hundreds, thousands of views, millions of views. Those videos don't get those views. Dozens of views. Does it like 12, 20,000, which comparatively to a small channel would be a lot. But on my channel, they are literally the bottom percentile. They are very much the last 3%. So views, money, no. Sales, no, because they don't do as well with the controversies, because people tend to, if you look on the Magic Cafe, if you look at a product that's got controversy, half the buyers are like, oh, well, it's controversial because it's not as good as they're saying it is, or it doesn't do what it says on the tin. So half your people avoid it. So you don't make any sales off the controversies, don't make any views off them, don't make any money and ad revenue off them, and it really disrupts my mental health and my time.
Yeah.
So not once. I know there are YouTubers in general, like the Logan Pauls of the world, that look for controversy.
Sure.
But man, like my wife will tell you, my world is a crap hole for those weeks when controversies are going down. I hate it.
Thank you for that transparency.
All right, man.
We're hedging towards the end of this, but looking at where Magic is heading now, what excites you? And controversial, and on the other side, what worries you?
I worry that not enough people are seeing live Magic. I think live Magic is really the only way to experience Magic. But then when they do see it live, it's such a treat, because they see these videos on the internet, and then they go, oh yeah, but whatever. And then they see it live and they go, oh, that thing that I watched, that guy showed me how the zigzag lady works, but then I go and see Penn and Teller and they just did it with a hacksaw. It's not how it's done. That experience of someone going, I know what I saw online. Yeah, that was fake or that was a clever thing, but this is real and it's tangible. That excitement is like crack, So it's not enough live magic being seen. I'm excited for when people see live magic. I'm trying to think, like, the future of magic is always the new generation coming through. But I'm trying to think of something which is just more than the standard answer, because I think magic's in a bit of a golden era. I really think it's in a golden era. When I was younger, I was so humiliated. I don't perform. I don't do gigs. And a large part of that was because when I was a teenager, 20 odd years ago, magic, Blaine was kind of on TV a little bit, but it was very much still, if you thought of a magician, top hat tails, which I just, no offense to those magicians, but personally, I felt like that was kind of lame. And this definitely the last thing I'd be showing my mates in comp. And so a huge part of why I don't perform is I was super embarrassed to mention the word magic, magician, to let people know, because I really like, yeah. And so I put it off to the point where, you see kids out there like Rylan doing gigs every single day of his life. He's on stage, on TV. He's never going to even know that there was an opportunity to be nervous or embarrassed in the way that I was, because he's just had it. He just didn't even know any different. I didn't have that in any way. I literally hid it away. My friend, this is a true story, the large part of my social circle and friends didn't even know I did magic until I left Illusionist. On my social media, if you look on Instagram, Facebook, I block anyone that's from my local town. I see every single person that follows me. I block all people from my hometown. I don't want them knowing what I do. And that's a hangover from when I was embarrassed of it. Now it's more so the fact that it can be a shock when they see me do magic, because they just didn't know what I did. They just thought I was doing like video stuff. But for the large part, I don't really tell people, and I never told people. But the point I was making was, now if you do magic, the first thing is like, oh my God, that's so sick. Can you come and do my wedding? Can you come to my party? Can you be this? Can you come be that? And it just felt like that wasn't it. So I think it's just in a golden era in terms of that, which is quite cool.
Very
Who
cool.
knows how long it'll last? Skateboarding was back again, and then it went out again. Rubik's Cubes are cool, and then they went again.
Now, you've gone from sleeping on people's couches to creating some of the world's biggest commercial magic hits. What advice would you give to a young magician listening to this who's struggling but has got big dreams?
Relentless. Be absolutely relentless. Like, that's like the one word that's like sort of stuck in my mind since day dot. It was like with creativity. I feel like I feel like, and I'm probably wrong, but I feel like I come up with quite a fair few interesting like new concepts, and that wasn't because I don't think I'm creative. I think I'm relentless. Where most people will think, if they want to do a color change, for example, most people they think, how can I do a new color change? Oh, maybe the flap card can go diagonally, and that's where they stop. Where for me, it's like, right, write down all the methods that exist. You can't even go near those. You just keep working on it until you end up with something that no one's done, and then you're in blue ocean territory. So relentless is how I approach creativity, because I try my best to put out things that haven't been done before, like the Luxes, like I put out an app called Cypher years ago. It was the first calculator app that did the star signs and stuff, the things like the cognitos, and I feel anyway, like all the fading magic and whatever. And it's the same in terms of the pursuit of doing it and chasing what you want to do. I was literally having a discussion with someone 2 days ago, and I'm at like a good place in life where I've ticked off my entire bucket list, everything, like in terms of like earnings, lifestyle, home. I've done it all. And someone was like, oh, you're so lucky you got that. And it wasn't. It was because from, like, I remember I mentioned earlier when I was in school, I knew from a very, very young age that I wanted to be able to have a family, have my own house in my hometown, because nobody else in my family owned a house in my town for generations. Like, literally none of them has ever owned a house. So it was like, I want to own my own house. I want a family. I want to be able to provide so that my wife can spend time with the kids, because so often that's like sort of robbed from a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I want to create magic every single day. And I started out like from age really like 16, where I had the idea of that lifestyle. And I've pretty much pursued it constantly, relentlessly since then. And like really, I was saying to my wife, I was like, I'm finally like within the last like fortnight here, like exactly where I've been working towards 20 years of really, really, really hard work. But I never once thought it wouldn't work. I just laser eyed it. Don't worry about the bull that's going to come either side. Like just deal with it, but keep your eye on the focal point and be realistic. I'm never going to be a millionaire. Never going to have a Ferrari. A lot of things I'm never going to aspire to do. Or I know that like I just know my limits. But I knew having a house, being comfortable, not wealthy but comfortable, and creating magic every day, that was doable if I worked my balls off. So I did, and I just kept that in sight. So whatever they want to aspire to be, just like it might take 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's it. But it might take you 2. But you just got to like, I just say like keep it in directly in your line of sight and you'll be all right.
Now, we first met at the Session convention in London, where you have been attending for many years. And this year, go on.
I don't think we met in London. I think it was Gloucester.
Was it Gloucester we first met? Okay.
Yeah.
No, that probably was.
I used to get I was a big drinker. So I looked like big and huge and fat, and I would look like, I can't say the words, but I don't think you would have. I remember like being like, "Can I borrow a lighter off you, please?" outside once, and then you just like be like, I was like this little 16-year-old whipper. My first session was 2006.
Well, it would have been then. 2. Yeah, it would have been then in Gloucester. Okay. And you've been coming back and coming back and coming back. And this year you're able to attend without paying because you're doing something there.
Yes,
Can you talk
dirty,
about...
It's sexual. It involves Josh and Andy in a room, and me and wrestling masks. Yeah, man, this is so surreal. Can I say it? Am I allowed to say it?
Yeah.
I'm lecturing at the Session convention, and I've literally had adult nightmares about it. I woke up the other morning. I was like, Haley, can I tell them I've got a cold now? And I can't do it. I'm so nervous. I don't lecture. I've done like 3 lectures. One of them was a lecture. The other 2 were like half things. But I've always said that the Session is the best convention on the planet. And I've gone there for 2026 is my 20th anniversary of going there. And I've always been like, oh my God, if you lecture at the Session, you are a magician. You are, because there's a lot of other conventions out there. But for me, it's always been, I always say like Blackpool's like the Mardi Gras of magic. Magic Live is its own thing, but you never know what's going to go on there. It's always like a mystery and stuff. And there are little offshoot conventions, but the Session is the one for the series. I would say, if when someone says to me, what convention should I go to this year? I say, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking to socialize and like party a little bit and see everything? Like, well, go to Blackpool. Are you looking for a bit of travel? Well, then go to Magic Live. Are you looking to see the people competing at the highest level? Go to FISM. If you're looking to learn and really be serious about your art, you go to the Session. And then Andy asked me, did I want to do it? And I always said, if I ever got asked, I would say yes to the Session before I could talk myself out of saying it, because I'm so nervous, but I'm doing it. And I'm crapping my pants. I'm crapping my pants.
What do you think, apart from this sort of more serious thing, what do you think what would you say to somebody that hasn't been to the Session before that might be on the fence about going?
If you want to see, like I think all of us as magicians have those moments where we became addicts. Those moments where somebody showed you a trick and it was a pivotal moment. For me, I saw Wayne Dobson perform when I was 7. I was waiting to meet him backstage, and I don't know who it was, but someone said, "Oh, you've got some cards there that you sprung out. Can I show you a trick?" And I was like, and he gave me 2 black cards. He had 2 red cards. and they just change places. And I don't remember the next 2 weeks of my life. Gone. Pivotal moment, right? There's a lot of conventions out there where you'll see good tricks. And, like Blackpool is famed for the dealer's hall, which are just the same tricks you see on the shelves of every magic shop, right? Just being demmed in real life. But if you want to get your next fix of like, oh my God, that was just real magic injected into my veins, and I now know I'm going to be a magician forever. Or, those times, like, do you remember seeing Deontay's for the first time at the session in Gloucester?
I talk about that frequently. No, we didn't know who he was. And
they were like, oh, there's 2 shows. You've got a ticket to the second one. Come
What?
in. And I remember watching this guy. I'm like, okay, who's this? Like this chunky Spaniard? Are we brothers? What? And it was real magic. It was the first time I saw real card magic that made me question whether everybody else was stooge, and it was like a you've been framed moment. That's the kind of magic you see at the session that you don't really get anywhere else.
Brilliant. We are out of time, Lloyd Barnes, but we always end the show with 4 quick-fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Favourite pizza topping?
Meat Feast.
Favourite movie?
Ninja Turtles, the first one.
Favourite person or people that make music?
Everyone. Everything. I love, oh God, currently Portishead.
And finally, who would you rather fight, one massive Andy or 100 tiny Joshuas?
Oh, massive Andy. Definitely.
No hesitation there at all, Lloyd Barnes. Well, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time today. I hugely appreciate it. It was absolutely lovely to see you, and I will see you in January in London at the session.
Cool. Please be my spectator on stage so I don't get so nervous.
I'd be happy to. It would be my absolute pleasure.
Something
cool.
That, just ease me in, massage me in to the.
I'll treat you gently.
Please, it's my first time. It's my very first time of doing it, and of being sweaty in a room full of men watching me and judging me. I need a safe space on stage.
Yeah, I'll be your safe space. I'll be your support animal.
Oklahoma's my phrase, okay? It's my safety word.
On that bombshell, have a lovely rest of your day.
You too.